Okay, I'm just going to do a quick paint over here, probably about 15 minutes. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to angle this a little better because it was sort of leaning down. And I just want to clean up some of these colors and sort of unify them a little bit, these big areas. And then I'm just going to go in here and start reshaping everything so it gets a little more anatomically correct. So a lot of this is going to be recarving shapes, maybe moving things around a little bit and defining things like the nose and the lips and all that. And then all this color that's going on under her neck, there's a lot of red down in there. So I'll give her a red shirt at some point that sort of speaks back to that reflected light. Also, it feels like the light's coming from a few different places. So I'm just going to kind of treat that like it's coming from maybe two different sources, but I'll kind of unify it a little bit. The face feels a little narrow, like there's not enough cranium back there, so I'm going to move her ear back, and then I'll start building her hair around that. And you're going to see a lot of this is just balance and design and proportion and how far things are from each other and all that sort of thing, and just sort of getting them right at the beginning sort of laid out. And then I'm going to blend her flesh tone into her hair a little bit, into her scalp. It'll soften up the hair, and usually your hair doesn't have a really hard line. You see a little bit of the flesh tone going back into the hair, and then it gets thicker. And I'll be going around here and there and softening up her hair. And once I get the main mass and I can put a few loose hairs and things like that and just get it softened up, the back of the head and things like that, I'll probably soften up so it doesn't just have a hard line. And I'm going to speed this up in a few minutes, but I think the first part of it, you kind of need to see what I'm doing. So right now it's just a lot of shaping and adjusting. I really want to make sure that nose gets structured. The lips are dark. The upper lip, it'll go into shadow, but there should still be some color in there. And I'm only going to take this so far. I think there's a point where you'll sort of get the point here. And I'm going to move this eye over a little bit. It feels like if you're turned 3/4 a little bit, that's going to go behind the bridge of the nose. And the lips feel a little low, so I'm going to raise them up. And if I can get this sort of nailed down at this point, just where all the major parts are, it makes it a lot easier going forward because I'm not, it's always a process of adjusting, but it'll just make it go a little quicker. And if you notice, I've also sort of unified a lot of the colors, so there's not so many colors going on. And that dark under her chin, I'll probably soften up also. It's a pretty dark shadow, and it's starting to go pretty black. And I don't really want black in here. And I'm going to speed it up a little bit from here on out. And I'm starting to flip it. And you can see when you flip it, you really start seeing what's wrong with it the other way because your eyes just get too used to looking at it. And I want to get a little more color into like her nose and her cheeks, and I'll add some probably reflected color in a little bit. The background's a little flat, so I at least want to get something going on back there. And now I'm going to give her a red shirt, and then that'll explain that reflected light under her chin. Just in the other eye a little bit, she'd be sitting down, sort of in the bend of the bridge of the nose a little more. The ear was too high. And then I like to put a little hair over it. I'm going to give her a little bit of a light hitting her hair. And you can see it's just reshaping. Put a little warmth on her nose. And trying to unify that, her forehead. Now I also desaturated her shirt a little bit. I want to put some shadow values in there. And then when I hit it with the light, I'll just hit it with a more saturated red. And I always like to spin through the spectrum and see if there's a better idea for the background. And I'm going to put a cool in there, and it's going to mix with that. It's going to neutralize, and then I can bounce some of that into her face and get some nice cools in there. And this is just a more saturated red because I desaturate all the rest of the red. And I'll knock that down too. I want to give her some earrings just for interest. And plus, I can get a little sparkle on them. And I'll leave it there for now. I think that's enough. So it just be, I just constantly keep refining. I'd go into my mixer brushes and probably start working with those, keep reshaping, added some color, and I'd soften her hairline and just things like that. But this would be my starting point.